and welcome to the Alpha Movement Podcast. My name is Tom Foxley, and on today's show, I'm going to be taking the mic again myself. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a bit of an update about what's been happening with me, and that basically is for the last week or so, I have been fasting. Like for the last 5 days, I think it was 116 hours or something. I was trying to do 120 hours, but quite frankly, I wanted to safely drive to see my girlfriend in London tonight. So we cut it short by a few hours to make sure I didn't faint on the way. But that's taught me a lot about success and challenging goals. So I've put together a 5-part success principle theme-a-bob that should really have a more catchy title than that. It's genuine successful themes that I think apply in whatever endeavour you're trying to achieve in that moment. So whether that is trying to build a more successful business, or trying to transform your health, or improve your relationships, like anything like that, any kind of journey you're embarking on, I think these 5 parts, or these 5-part principles really are all you have to follow to kind of be successful. And the first part of that is knowing the destination. If you really don't understand where you're trying to get, then you're never going to get there. I'm sure you've heard loads of kind of bullshitty phrases about that before, but the big goal in itself, it needs to be audacious. It needs to be big. When I set myself the challenge of joining the Royal Marines, that was a big goal for me. At that point, I was a skinny 17-year-old with no confidence, no ambition, and no belief in myself. And that was the audacious goal. And because I had that massive goal, I instantly stepped up to it. Okay, like some people will work the other way, but I find in 99% of the cases, if you have a big goal that you believe in and that you want more than anything else, you will step up to it. Like that's what the human body is, or the human mind is designed to do. It's designed to find an objective and achieve it. And if you really believe that that's the one objective, or you believe that that one objective is important, you will get there. I promise you. So the key is to make that big goal big, as I said, but also that big goal will comprise of smaller goals. And that's like where this gets different to what other people suggest, and why I think it works better than just visualization, for example. So the small goals, let's take fitness, because that's the nice easy one that we kind of all understand. So the small goals for fitness could be turning up to the gym and doing a session. So that would be the typical way someone would approach that is by saying, I'm going to go to the gym 5 or 6 times a week. I'm going to do this exercise, this exercise, this exercise, and I'm going to be there for an hour at a time. But frankly, that's just likely to overwhelm you and make the chances of success less likely. So what I would do, and what I do with all my kind of my one-to-one clients in my bronze, silver and gold packages, we set very easy to achieve goals. So instead of having all those daily sessions that you could be hitting the gym, for example, what we could do instead is give you a very, very easy one, which is, for example, I'm going to do 5 press-ups, because when you're down there, A, you're going to do 5 press-ups, which is better than nothing, but B, once you're down there, there's no way you're just going to do 5 press-ups, because you'll feel like you failed when you're down there. So you're going to do a bit more, and you're going to do a bit more, and you just getting to the gym or just starting is the hardest bit. So making it easy to win is a very easy part. So for example, when I teach my guys the breathing method that I use to start the morning, we ain't like, I'll typically do 6, 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 cycles of this myself, but I try and get my guys to do just 1 to begin with. The important thing is the habit, and if we build the habit, then we're sorted. Okay, and you've got to know the destination in detail. The detail is really, like, if you're going to visualize it, if you're going to use visualization, which I highly recommend, well, I spoke about it in the last podcast with Dan Meredith, but if you use visualization, you've got to know it in detail. If you're a visual person, you've got to understand what it looks like. If you're a kinesthetic learner like myself, you've got to understand what it feels like, and you've got to also understand why. You've got to know why you're doing what you're doing, and I don't mean like you've got to have some very emotionally attached why, but you got to know what you're going to get out of it at the end, and that's what you're going to carry on working towards when things get tough. The next part of it is having a successful mindset. And this is very, very obvious. But it's kind of got 4 parts in my opinion to it. Like, mindset's a very, I don't know, laden, it's a word that's laden with connotations. So I want to kind of give you four parts I think work well. Actually 5, because I think I've just thought of another one. Okay, firstly, determination. Like, that's very obvious. There's times, if it's an audacious goal that I've already spoke about before, if it's something that means a lot to you, there are going to, or it's going to challenge you, there are going to be times when it gets really fucking difficult. And like, for example, when my fast, I found myself on Monday night, the first night, looking into the fridge. Like, I don't know how I got there. I just became present, and I was looking at these sausages in the fridge that were already there, and I was like, oh shit, oh yeah, I remember what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not eating, am I? But there's going to be times like that get hard. Okay, so having that determination, having that kind of thick-skinned kind of, and this brings me on to the next point, aggressive approach to your goals. Okay, so aggression, I've just written a post about aggression, but I think it's a hugely both underestimated but underutilized or underappreciated, and also it's got these, again, connotations of being violent and kind of belligerent, but what it really is you're taking action. That's all it really means. Like, if you approach something aggressively, you are going to get there, and that's a key part of it. So determination and aggression are two parts of it. The third part is positivity, and I'm sure you've all heard of like what it's like to have a positive mindset, and you have to have a positive mindset, but it really is true. If you can't appreciate things for what they are and kind of see the positive side of things, then you're never going to achieve it. If you're always looking at the negative side, then you're never ever going to get to where you want to be. And then the fourth part is embracing the hardship. And this is where my kind of idea of stoicism and my constant quest to apply stoicism to day-to-day life comes into effect. These hardships are the things that makes the challenge worthwhile. Like, if you ask anyone about their biggest achievement, they'll most likely not tell you about the moment that they actually achieved that result, but they'll more likely tell you about the moment that was the hardest in achieving it, in actually getting that and obtaining it. So if we again use my kind of objective in the Marines, like, if you ask me about what that was like, I wouldn't tell you about being handed a green beret. I would tell you about yomping 30 miles, or I'd tell you about the state of my feet, or I'd tell you about when I really wanted to quit but didn't. It's exactly the same in my business. If you look at where it is now, I wouldn't tell you about the fact that I'm like, it's going much better now and I'm kind of comfortable, but I would tell you about the times when I wasn't sleeping and the fact that I hated it at some points. I really detested what I was doing and didn't want to be doing it. But I would tell you about those moments, and that's kind of embracing those moments and seeing that as part of the challenge and seeing that as a game to win. I think that's a very important part, and seeing it as a game to win that's where, like, what's beneficial. And the last kind of aspect of mindset is the self-awareness part and being present. Like, if you read The Power of Now or something by Eckhart Tolle or like something, you can get very deep into the idea of presence and thinking it has some deep spiritual meaning, which is, if you like agree with that, that's cool. But my kind of idea of being present is just being aware of what moment you're in and kind of appreciating things for what they are. Again, it's kind of embracing the hardship and being self-aware and kind of knowing what your faults are, knowing what your benefits, what your positive aspects are. The third kind of part, or my principle of success, is decompression periods. Now, some of you will have read my blog post. I think it's called A Cure for Work-Based Anxiety. And this introduced the idea of long-term decompression periods and short-term decompression periods. So the idea is that it's very easy to achieve burnout, especially when you start off with this aggressive mindset and this aggressive goal-directed mindset. And we need to avoid burnout and reaching our potential, or what's the better way of putting that? I suppose burnout's the better way of putting that. We need to avoid burnout as much as possible, because that is what's going to stop us, because we just feel shit at the end of it. So if you look at training, for example, if you look at the way we put together training cycles and programs, they're broken down into macrocycles, mesocycles, and microcycles. What that essentially means, you get a very small part of your program that's in a slightly bigger part of your program that's in a slightly bigger part of your program. It's like Russian dolls, and that all, like the macro cycle could be working towards the Olympics for a high level athlete, or it could be just working towards a lower body fat percentage for a more aesthetic goal, or putting on some muscle, or hitting some strength numbers, that kind of thing. And then like the mesocycles are the smaller parts, and the microcycles are like the day-to-day stuff. But you need to have, like, in each one of those, there's a decompression period. So maybe every 4 weeks, maybe every 6 weeks, there is a big drop off where the intensity is lowered and the volume is lowered, and like there's a few ways to do it, but effectively it gets a bit easier, and this allows you a chance to recover, to feel good again, and to go hard again. And that happens like kind of all throughout the microcycles, the mesocycles, and the macrocycles, so the small, medium, and long-term goals. And this is what needs to happen without your day. So lots of you will be, well, you're all aware of a holiday or a vacation, and that is a form of decompression, and that's cool. I think they should be more often. I think they should be seen as mini retirements, and they should be longer and more often, so probably 2 or 3 times a year, and for about 3 to 4 weeks each time, just to kind of completely de-stress you and actually live in the moment and appreciate what you're living with now. But that's kind of a side point. The kind of the meso version of that, the middle term version of that, is on a weekly basis, taking a weekend or something, or even at the end of a day, or actually this is a much better way of putting it, at the beginning of and the end of the day, you've got your morning routine, your evening routine. If this is just a blur from your working day until bed, that's not cool, because your home life is going to be affected, your relationships are going to be affected, and it's not a great place to be. And also your work will be affected because you aren't separating it enough. But this is all like in much more detail in my blog post. I definitely recommend it. And then on a microcycle as well, looking at decompression periods in terms of, so in between each individual task. But this obviously applies to everything we're doing. Okay, so to avoid burnout in any pursuit of success is essential. So if you can figure out a decompression period or like a decompression technique, do that. The fourth part is an accountability partner. So I've spoken about accountability, and I actually definitely wrote a blog post, which is my most favorite titled blog post. It was called "How Ordering Butt Plugs Can Make You More Productive." The idea being that I have a series of people holding me accountable and making sure I do what I do. They're actually a mix between clients, friends, and acquaintances who will basically punish me if I don't do as I'm supposed to do, whether that's meditation, or whether it's my business goals, or whether it's my physical goals. They'll do something if I don't do it, because in my case, the stick is much more effective than the carrot. So the example that I'll give in this is that if I think it's my meditation one, if I miss my morning meditations or my breathing techniques, so like whatever you want to call it, my parents will receive some butt plugs ordered to their house in my name that's very clearly from, I think it's from like gaysextoys.com or something like that. So yeah, my parents wouldn't love that, and it's that kind of forfeit that I'm avoiding. You can use the carrot as well. Betting pools actually work very well if you're in a group of friends all trying to achieve the same thing. Let's say there's a group of you, 3 or 4 of you, who want to lose X number of pounds. Whoever does that first, you'll put 50 quid in. Whoever does that first gets everyone's 50 quid. So not only are you fighting to avoid losing 50 quid, it has to be a fairly sizable wager, but you're fighting to win at the same time. So that works very well. But accountability is a key part. And the last part is getting a coach, getting someone who's experienced and who knows what they're doing. There's basically 3 things that I think makes a good coach. One of them is being a long-term thinker. So I've once had a coach, I'm not going to name names because I'm not that kind of guy, but their constant approach was to push harder and harder and harder. And I've already spoke about this in the decompression stuff, but this obviously made me feel burnt out and tired, and I was never kind of getting where I wanted to be. I was also hugely in debt as a result of investing in them, and that was the worst decision I made. But I basically made the wrong decision. I basically made the wrong decision investing in them, because I didn't find out if they're a long-term thinker first. They wanted to get me from zero to hero very quickly, and that's not the way that I work or most people work. You want someone who's got a long-term strategy in place. The other thing is, do they have knowledge? Like, they should be. The other thing about this poor coach, actually, they very rarely put out any kind of knowledge, or, like, for example, a podcast, or, for example, like regular useful posts with applicable stuff. Like, a good coach in today's age will be giving away 80% of what they know kind of up front, and kind of really helping people, because they know that they're building a solid brand and building trust, essentially. So are they giving stuff away? Do they clearly say they're knowledgeable? Just a side note on this. If, for example, it's a business coach that you're looking for, and they're just putting up photos of them in a mansion, just don't even go near them. If it's a physique coach who just puts up photos of themselves, don't go near them. Actually look for some knowledge that they're trying to give out. And the other thing is experience. So do they have experience in both a coaching role, and do they have experience in both a personal role? So has this person previously achieved for themselves what you want to achieve? If not, probably don't go near them. But more importantly, have they achieved that for someone else? If they haven't achieved that, 100% do not go near them, because that is an inexperienced, ineffective coach. And that kind of brings it to an end, what I want to talk about. Just a quick one, 17 minutes or so today. So those, like, if you apply those 5 parts, I have written kind of fairly comprehensively about them on my blog posts. I've covered them in previous podcasts, and like they're themes that keep on coming up throughout podcasts. If you haven't listened to the back catalogue, definitely do. But yeah, they're themes that keep on coming up time and time again. So I think they're really important to get over to you. And if you have any thoughts on the Alpha Movement, can you head over to alphamovement.co/survey and fill out a really, really quick form. It's like 3 minutes tops. Even when you're typing with my monkey fingers, it doesn't take long. To the guys that already have done it, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And there's also the topic of iTunes reviews as well. Like, I know I spoke before about asking you for reviews. You're still in with the chance of winning that secret prize if you leave the best review. And so far there are a couple of actually 4 or 5 really, really good reviews on there that I'm going to be contemplating to win. But if you want to win that prize, head over to iTunes, leave me a 5-star review. It helps me reach more people, it helps my podcast do better, and it helps me invest more time into the podcast and help you guys out more in the long run. So with that said, I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Actually, on the topic of fasting, the next guest is probably the most knowledgeable man in the world, with no hyperbole, about fasting and ketosis. So it's a really, really interesting podcast. Like, I loved recording it. There's going to be notes galore that you can go over to alphamovement.co and download, because it's heavy. I'm not going to lie, it's tough work to get through if you don't know some of the terms, but I'm going to provide you with notes. I'm going to make it easy for you to understand. So head over to alphamovement.co to find out a bit more, or you can go to facebook.com/alphamovementofficial. Don't forget to let me know how you're finding the podcast. Interact with me. Find me, Tom Foxley, all over social media, because I'm a social media whore. And I'll see you guys soon for another episode of the Alpha Movement Podcast.